Now I'd like to show how we can create data validators. It's actually very useful, and how we can actually validate data assets. So we have a content. Even if you press like menu content here, we have asset actions, and here we can like validate assets and dependencies. Same, all assets are validated. For example, when we save an asset, it will be validated. When you add a new file, new asset, it can be validated as well. Obviously, we can validate entire folders, and we can have it here in the data validation assets in the selected folder. I will just create a new folder. I will name it Validators. But actually, I'm thinking of using another folder because why not? It's just scripted actions, and Validators is not run by scripting stuff. Actually, it's being run automatically when we validate assets, even manually or we save or other operations. And to create the validators, remember to not go to blueprint because it will not work as it should. Here we can even try to type validator, and we have a validator base. And I will show actually it's on 4.5. It's not a validator that is a blueprint class. To run it like in the editor, we have to use editor utility blueprint, and from here I can use editor validator base, and this is actually how it works. And as we can see, it uses different colors. This one is just like a blue, and this is like very bright blue, right? And this one will not work upon save, so this is actually very mistake to make. And this is the validator. We can only print custom messages. If you just mark it down, it will be like printing the messages to a log. And now we have two functionalities. Is a validate loaded assets, can validate an assets, and we basically will use, because can validate, we can use a use case, and this use case can be manual, commandlet. Basically, we can even try what situation is needed to validate that. We just save, as I show you, manual. Manual is like when you try to press and use validation stuff from here. Yeah, this is action assets, and we will not use it for now. But as you can see, it can be a script even, or a command that we can just type from here. Enter the cancel command. Yes, we'll validate by typing a command that we want to. We can even parse some normal functions. The functions immediately is called in editor, so we can use it, but we basically will use two functionalities. It can validate assets, and the can validate assets will allow us to check, for example, if the asset is a concrete type, and this is very useful. So, for example, I will use cast to texture 2D, and if it's a texture 2D, then we can try to validate, and I will use we can call it like which is a validator, so maybe I'll use EV or EVB. Not sure what is the naming convention for that, but EV naming, because it's a editor validator base. So if it's a texture, we can validate, and then this is the validation stuff. And validation stuff, we can just apply our conditions. I'll use get object name, and the get object name will start with something. So if it starts with, and we can even create one main stuff. We can even cast to the object, for example, and it will be applied for all the things that we basically use. Is a texture 2D, but we can cast to actor or some abstract classes, right? But from now we check if it starts with T, because this is just texture. And now we have this kind of thing, if it's valid or invalid, but as well we have not validated. I will use only valid and invalid. So if it starts with T, we will make it like it's valid, but it will just parse the stuff. But we can use functionality that is inbuilt in editor validator base, which is asset passes. So if an asset passes, it will be validated. We have to call it in the every condition node. So now I will use a valid, and here will be invalid, and asset obviously will be here, and we can even apply some stuff, but basically this contains some information. It will be displayed in our bottom right corner. And if it doesn't start, I'll use asset fails, which is another functionality, and we can even apply custom information here, which is very useful. because we'll use it. And now I'll just press to invalid. And for now, I can use a format text. And that format text that is here, it will be asset. And that asset will be obviously that name. Should start with T. Okay, maybe like this. And now, if I apply it, and I have here like a basic, I change the name. Is a texture, or maybe we can even use a normal texture, not possible texture 2D, just to make it for all textures. Cast to texture, because it's more on. I'll just make it here. And now, basically it's all what we've done. It will work automatically, but even if I want to press something, for example basic, as we can see, it still allows us to rename and have this bad naming convention. You're probably thinking why? So the editor validator base requires to restart our editor because it's being launched at the start of the editor, all the validation processes. So what should we do now? We need to restart an editor and then try to apply some changes or validate assets. I will show you in multiple ways how we can actually test it out. Let me restart the editor. And now, if I press right on it and I will try to validate assets, always getting lost. And try to rename it, as you can see, it's validation log. And if I press show log, it will show actually basic should start with T. So if I try to maybe name basic, it still shows the error. And validation failed. But if I start with that and try to save, no information is being popped up because it uses our naming convention. So it's actually good and can obviously surprise some of the people who are in the project and they do not keep their naming conventions. And this validator is not only for saving naming conventions. Maybe you want to add like a model that has too many polygons, or maybe you want to add textures that are 8K, or maybe we want to have too many blueprints in our actor, because everything can be checked and we can even use that same stuff from the validator, which is this asset. And as I showed it before, when we had asset actions, especially in blueprint action library, the all assets, which is the blueprint asset can be recovered from the object, from the asset, and then we can find a graph and get some nodes and information in that code. And then this way we can actually validate the stuff that there is inside.
If you're interested in mastering Unreal Engine editor extensions with C++ and blueprints, check out my course on Udemy. It covers everything from scripted asset actions to data validators and actor actions.